This Gamerspots brought to you by Retro Magazine. Subscribe now at readretro.com. Also brought to you by GameGavel.com, the auction site built by gamers for gamers.
Hello everyone, I'm here at Digital Press Video Games in Clifton, New Jersey, here with Joe. This is for Retro Gamer Magazine and Gamerspots.com. So Joe, how did you get started with digital press?
Well, digital press was the beginning of just a couple guys, my best friend Kevin and I, collecting Atari games after the NES had already been released. So we were in this sort of an older generation of game playing, and we were wondering if there were people out there that were still doing that sort of thing. So we're talking 1991, there was no internet, there was really no way to get in touch with these people. So we started this newsletter called Digital Press to kind of reach out and see if there were other people out there still collecting games from the early 80s and late 70s when we were sort of, already in the 90s. And that's just sort of snowballed. I mean, you can imagine something like that. The internet eventually came, and forums and conventions and all sorts of things, and it snowballed into finally saying, let's open a store. So here we are.
But when did the store actually open here?
The store didn't open until 2005. So, we started the organization in 91. So we've gone through a long, long period of newsletters and books. We did collector's guides for a number of years where we were sort of, we had all of this great consortium of people who knew a lot about different game systems and their value. So we got them all together, we compiled this great database, and we're putting out books for a bunch of years. But by the time 2000 came along, I had been spending so much time with this hobby that my job was actually getting in the way. So I abandoned my career to basically just say, let me just do what I really love.
Okay. Where do you get most of your stock that you have here in the store?
Everything that's in the store comes in via trade-in. So there aren't a lot of game shops that do retro, and in this area, I'm lucky enough to probably be one of 3 in a 50-mile radius. So what happens is people will walk into a GameStop and they'll be like, here's my Nintendo 64 games to trade in, and inevitably those people at GameStop will say, you need to go see that guy in Clifton, because we don't sell them, we don't buy them anymore. So we've become a bit of a funnel for all of that. So anybody that's looking to sell, plus we already had a pretty decent reputation online as being collectors, and I think we're pretty fair people with trade-ins, and we kind of understand the agony of parting with your stuff, at this point.
Yeah. Now you do a video game museum out at CGE. How did that get started?
The museum was just an idea we had. So CGE is Classic Gaming Expo, which was started in 1998, and the museum just was part of that. So guys that ran it, and I joined them in 2000, basically said, look, if we're going to do this sort of a show, we really need kind of a big show and tell area. So for the people that were running it and their close friends, we said, well, let's just get some of the stuff together and put it out. So the museum basically started that way. Let's just show off some of the things that we have in our collection and sort of share this history with people that come to attend. And then over the years, as that got bigger and bigger, people started to say to us, well, now we got to wait for Classic Gaming Expo to see this really cool museum, which has grown so much. By 2004, I think we had 7,000 square feet of space just dedicated to that museum at the expo. So in 2010, we decided to start a nonprofit organization called Video Game History Museum, and that's kind of where we're heading now with that.
Are you trying to find an actual brick and mortar place to set up an actual museum?
Yeah. We want a real big building to be able to hold all of the stuff that we've accumulated over the years, and also have a fair amount of interactive exhibits.
What do you think is the most rarest thing you have in the collection for the museum?
2 and 3 collection.
Oh wow.
You think of one thing, what's the most rarest thing you think you have?
So for the retail world, I would say we just acquired one of those RDI Halcyon machines, which was an early 90s CD-based machine. It was developed by Rick Dyer, who did Dragon's Lair. It was available for such a short time that maybe 1,000 of them were ever made. And so it's a laser disc-based system. And Yeah, they were real expensive. They were close to $2,000 at the time of release, and just were not popular. They were a little glitchy. Like, there was going to have voice controls for it, and it was pretty high tech for its time. It literally came in boxes that were stacked this high when you had it all. It was all together. So we found a guy when we did a show out in Los Angeles in October. Somebody got in touch with us. They had one, and we worked out a deal for that. So I think as retail things go, that's probably the most valuable. Or rare, but then we have a number of prototypes and one-of-a-kind things that we've accumulated over the years that I don't even know what the value of them are. Like an actual Atari Cosmos, which was a holographic handheld system that Atari made.
I've never seen one of those.
Yeah, we have a lot of things like that. You know, even in the little museum here, like I was showing you before we started, I have for the Sega Genesis, the heartbeat training system was meant to be sort of an offshoot of the Genesis for people to do this sort of fitness program. And it never really took off. They released the bike and the setup, but they never really released any games. So Outback Joey I've seen as a cartridge, but they're prototypes of the other games that had come out, including the actual boxes, which I've never seen except for the person that designed those boxes that I got them from. So I know we have a number of items like that that are pretty much one of a kind.
So this little museum you got set up here in the store, this is all from your personal collection here?
Yeah, this stuff is from my collection.
And you try to rotate it out every once in a while to have something new in here?
I do it about once a year. I got to get in there, so I don't do it very often.
So right now you're doing the
tricky.
Sega history here.
Yep, this is a very brief history of Sega, but it kind of includes a lot of like just one piece from each of the Sega systems, some of the strange prototypes, some of the more popular, like the handheld Nomad, some of the cool stuff that you can get if you ordered online in Japan. It's sort of a mixture of things that I think represent the company really well, and it's such a very small cube of a museum.
Now here at your store at Digital Press, do you host tournaments or anything like that on the video games you have? Or?
We do. Once a month we have a get-together called NAVA, North Atlantic Videogame Aficionados is what we call it. So it's sort of a local club. And it's the last Saturday of every month, and we invite people to come and not only play with us, but bring things to trade, sell. We basically set up like a flea market inside the store. And at that event, we have a 6 o'clock tournament that's usually a classic game-related thing. So we just had NAVA last week that celebrated the year 1983 and the crash of '83. And we played Mario Brothers, the original Mario Brothers, the arcade one, where we played head-to-head on the Atari 8-bit computer.
Oh, wow.
So that was our tournament. So our tournaments aren't the typical, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Tekken. They're usually rotated around classic gaming.
Yeah, I think we yelled at him last time.
That's really cool. What are your typical business hours here?
We're open every day. It's 11 to 8 from Mondays through Thursdays, 11 to 9 on Friday and Saturday, and then Sundays we're open 12 to 5.
And you do have an online website that you can shop off of as well?
It doesn't have everything that's on the floor, but we have an eBay store that carries all of our overstock and usually real high-end items. Really expensive stuff doesn't pay for me to put out on the shelves because most of the local customers look at it and like, why would they try to sell me an $800 3D imager or something like that? So yeah, but there is a shop out there that has quite a bit of stuff in it.
Do you have any kind of future plans for Digital Press or anything like that?
When we open a museum, I would like to have the gift shop be a sort of similar Digital Press type of a store like this. I would rather it not be the traditional gift shop where you just go in and buy merchandise that's museum related, but actually you can buy games, actually can trade in your games. To me, that would be the best representation of a video game museum's gift shop.
So when that actually occurs, would you still have this store here and also like something at the museum? Or?
I think so. I mean, I would have every intention of leaving this store open, no matter where that is.
Thanks a lot for the interview. Appreciate it.
Seeing you again.
Now let's take a look at this awesome store. If you ever find yourself in the Clifton, New Jersey area, stop on by this store, say hi to Joe and the gang, and get your retro shopping on. Thanks for watching.